Good morning. As we've been showing you all week, the state has been battling a number of brush fires. The largest, the Hawthorne fire in the Berlin-Meriden area, which sadly resulted in the death of Wethersfield volunteer firefighter Robert Sharkovich Sr. on Tuesday. He'll be honored at his wake tonight in Wethersfield and his funeral tomorrow morning in Hartford. As they deal with the death of one of their own, local firefighters, teams from the DEEP and others called in from out of state have been working to control and extinguish these fires. Connecticut's DEEP Commissioner Katie Dykes joins us this morning. Commissioner, thank you for being with us. I know it's been a tough week for many of your crews who have been involved in this firefight. And I mentioned to you before we started, we're so used to seeing those guys when they head out west to fight a fire. We do the send-off, we cover it often. Now they've been doing it here in our state. Tell us about that fight.
Well, it's a really important work we have at DEEP. We know that the spring is usually the time that we experience the greatest fire danger. But depending on weather conditions, such as what we're experiencing right now, we can also have high fire danger in Connecticut at other times of the year. But this is what we train for. As you mentioned, we send crews out west and even to Canada to help fight fires together with other firefighters from some of our volunteer firefighters in the state and elsewhere in the region. And we get valuable training and experience. And also by providing that mutual support, then we can call on some of our neighboring states to help us out when we're experiencing fires here in Connecticut, which unfortunately right now we are. We've had dry conditions and a lot of fallen leaves that are on the ground, which have created an increased fuel load, which has led to several fires catching and spreading around the state. But certainly the most concerning one, the largest one, is the Hawthorne fire on Lamentation Mountain. And we are just so heartbroken about the tragedy with the loss of life for firefighter Sharkovich. And I just want to say I share my condolences with his family and friends, and as well as all of his fellow firefighters and first responders who feel this loss acutely. You know, firefighters, police, emergency responders do heroic work every day, putting themselves in harm's way to protect the people and the environment of our state. And I'm just so grateful to people like Mr. Sharkovich who answer the call to keep us all safe.
Yeah, and it's a good reminder that every single day they head out to respond to that call, and it is putting their lives in danger. I want to ask you about the logistics of what's happening out there, Commissioner. Tell us how it works, because I know, and many people, I was in that area, not several miles away, but in that area, and I saw the helicopters buzzing overhead during the course of this week. So it's a two-pronged approach, right? You're attacking by sending crews actually up the mountain and dealing with things on the ground, and then we're looking at some video of some of those helicopter water drops. How does it work when you have something like 85 or 100 acres of a mountain on fire? What's the effort actually look like?
Well, it's really a complex, logistical effort. And again, this is why the experience that we've gained from helping out with fires out west is really invaluable for incident response here in the state. DEEP has been on scene supporting the Berlin Fire Department with the response to this fire since Monday night. And the fire expanded from about 25 to 30 acres to quickly to about 80 to 100. It's really steep terrain, and that contributes to some of the challenges with extinguishing the fire. And that's why on Tuesday afternoon, the State Emergency Operations Command was activated, and it was determined that we were going to need air support, particularly as we were expecting the winds to pick up. So we're, our goal with a fire like this is to manage it, to prevent the spread. There's still leaves, that are going to be coming down. So our goal will be to prevent it, from spreading further. And as we wait for, some rainfall, we need about 2 inches to extinguish a fire like this. So we'll be managing it, working together with the local fire departments. We have 40 DEEP staff who've been involved, fire departments from around the state, as well as state agencies and support from New Hampshire, Maine, and Rhode Island, and the Connecticut Air National Guard. We have helicopters that have been provided by the Guard as well as by the Maine Forest Service that are providing these water drops, which is really critical in, again, a really steeply sloped area like Lamentation Mountain.
Now, we continue to have this dry weather, and of course, that's a concern. And I want to ask you to give some tips to people if they see something in their area or if it's nearby. But before we do, one interesting thing I took out of one of the press conferences that happened out there at the command center, we're glad, obviously, homes are in danger. Hopefully, many of the people are not in danger. But this isn't not a horrible ecological thing. Is that correct? I mean, this is a process that's going to happen, and the same thing that we see out west. This is just kind of part of nature. It's just that it's right near our homes, and that's why we're concerned. Ecologically, this is not any sort of disaster. Is that correct?
Right. Our goal is, public safety, preventing this wildfire from spreading. We are a densely populated state and a heavily forested state. So our goal is, again, to try to manage the fire. We have evacuation plans, in place to the extent that any of the nearby structures might be affected. But at the present time, we haven't executed or had need to execute them. We work all the time to try to manage wildfire risk across the state. We've been able to add, additional fire control officer on staff here at DEEP, working with municipalities on developing community wildfire defense plans. We've been able to get a lot of federal funding recently through the Biden administration to help us better prepare for managing fire risk. Unfortunately, with the acceleration of climate change, we know that this is a risk that we have to be even more prepared for going forward. And so that's why I'm really proud of the work we're doing, including participating in responding to fires out west, again, so we can gain that valuable expertise to be better prepared here in Connecticut.
All right, we have about a minute left, Commissioner. I want you to give people some advice. So whether you're near Berlin or you're near another spot or just you're enjoying the outdoors, with this kind of weather, we saw the red flag warnings, things like that over the past week. What's the advice people need to know?
Great. So it's really important for folks to know this is not a good time to have backyard fires, campfires, any type of outdoor burning. Encourage folks to keep all flammable objects away from fires. Keep, leaves and twigs and grass, within a 10-foot diameter circle from a fire. Have firefighting tools nearby. But most importantly, if you can avoid, let's try to avoid any unnecessary, fire activity during this critical time while we're waiting for rain. So that's one of the most important things people can do. Make sure you extinguish any smoking materials carefully. Never leave a fire, unattended. These are just common sense precautions people can take. But at this time of year with the dry conditions, it's something we're asking everybody to be really thoughtful and sensitive to not creating any campfires and any kind of burning that could enhance the high fire risk that we're experiencing in the state.
All right, Commissioner Katie Dykes from the DEEP. We appreciate you being with us. Some great advice for people. Thanks for joining us on CT24.
Thanks so much, Eric.